barbecue. There's a baby shower on
What?
the 13th.
Should I buzz him?
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't even know if he's downstairs yet.
Yeah, he went down there.
I know, but it takes him a while.
Okay, go now. Go.
Now we can go?
I don't know, it's got our names up there again. Just say hi, there we are. Nope. Okay, now we're clear.
Okay, welcome to What's New.
And we're waiting for what's new.
Yeah, we're waiting for Don to say girls, and he's not doing it. Maybe he went to sleep.
I bet that's what
Okay,
happened.
Iris, we have two people here tonight to tell us all the things that are going on.
Right, and I don't speak French, so Bob's gonna talk about the soldiers.
The French soldiers.
That's the
French
easiest way to do it.
soldiers.
And Laura's gonna talk about the route de Vin, is
Route
that
de Vin,
correctly?
yes, the Jour de la Terre.
Oh, I
The
couldn't do
what?
that one. I couldn't do that one.
What is it?
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna tell
ask
you all
her.
about it, you're gonna find out.
Is it something to eat or
So-
drink?
Both.
Oh, well, heck on that.
So whichever one of you want to start talking
have
first,
the-
go right
All
Go
ahead.
right ahead, Laura.
All right, so the St. Genevieve Wine Trail, the Route de Vin, which way should I?
Oh,
how do I
It
go?
doesn't
No, it
matter.
doesn't
Oh,
make
good.
any difference.
He'll get
Is,
you. He'll pick you up no matter where you're at.
oh, wonderful. So we are putting on our Jour de la Terre, which is our Earth Day celebration. And we have 6 participating wineries, and each one of the wineries prepares a food with an assigned herb. For instance, Cave's herb this year is chives. So we're preparing a goat cheese tartlet with chives.
Ooh,
And we are going to pair that with our Chamberson wine. And each winery is going to have their own food and wine pairing. So you get to visit each of the 6 wineries. The tickets are $25. And you also get wine discounts that day. And you also get a souvenir wine glass. So it's a lot of fun. We also have a little special surprise of some herb seed packets for all of our guests.
So we can
So-
act like we're gardeners.
So you can act like you're gardeners and plant your own seedlings at home. It's a great way to see all of the wineries and get a taste for each and a feel for each one of them. So tickets are available online, $25 each, or there are a limited number of tickets available that day of the event. Saturday and Sunday, the event runs 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Can you name all 6 of the wineries?
I
Let's
can.
see how good she is.
So
I can probably do it.
I bet she can do it.
how many can you name?
I can't.
Probably none.
We have 9 wineries here in St. Genevieve County, and 6 of us are on the Route de Vin Wine Trail. So we've got St. Genevieve, Cave Vineyard, Twin Oaks, Sand Creek, Chalmette, and Charleville. So those are the 6 wineries
I
you'll get
could
to
have named
visit.
every one of those.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, and we've got a nice easy map to follow. It's nice if you can start in town and work your way out towards Twin Oaks and Sand Creek, or you can start on the other end and work your way into town.
Now, this $25, is that for each winery?
No, that's
That's
20,
one ticket?
that's
and
one
then you
ticket.
get all,
Exactly.
wow.
That's a lot of fun. So another thing you can do that day, the Route de Vin Wine Trail is rolling out a passport program. So that day you can pick up your passport ticket, and it's absolutely free. It's just a little card that you can keep in your wallet. And every time you visit one of our 6 wineries, you're going to get a little stamp. And once you've visited all 6 of us, you're going to get this wonderful little insulated picnic tote. And so it holds a couple
And
of
then we
wine
can-
bottles. Yes, and it's
Then we can come out the cave and
yeah, and then you can
sit
come
in the
picnic. Yep,
cave.
absolutely. So it holds a couple of wine bottles. You can keep all your fruit and cheese cold, and you'll be ready to roll to the wineries. So it's
That's
a
a
fun
real
way to get to
key
see
right
all of them.
They are.
And when is this?
This is April 18th and 19th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day.
She didn't tell you you needed $200 for a personal chauffeur to take you around.
You
I
find-
would need a
See,
chauffeur
when
if I
we
go
get
to
old
those.
like us.
Yeah, I
don't
would need a
think-
chauffeur.
Yeah, we need one.
I wouldn't be able to travel.
You have
on-
to enlist a non-drinking friend and get a
That's
designated
right,
driver.
a designated
Yeah.
driver.
That's what we need.
What they do when they're young.
Oh,
What do you do when you get old?
That's when you have to have a chauffeur. or get your kids.
And that starts from what time?
It's 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And there actually are some shuttle services available. Groups will book those shuttle services. There's one that runs out of Cape. There's several out of St. Louis. And you can contact any of the wineries so we can hook you up with those folks. But it's a good way to get a group of friends together
Yes.
and see all the wineries and not have to worry about driving.
Well, that'd be fun.
That is. We went to Cave. I won
Oh, the wine tasting.
the wine tasting out at the Casey Hall when they did it for the special kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And our class went, and we had a ball. It was so much fun.
Did you
I
learn
think-
something?
I think your dad wanted to kick us out. He told us we act like kindergarten kids.
You're a rowdy bunch, right?
He said you all had a good time.
Yes, we had a great time. It was wonderful. And learned a lot. We
That's
really
a
learned
very
lot.
informative. It's kind of, it's a, like a wine 101 class. He does
It-
all the basics.
That was great.
From
Everybody should
grape
do
to
that.
bottle, he covers it, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
He likes to talk about it.
Yeah, and there were 14 of us, I think, something like that. We had
So do you
great
have
time.
a lot of this in the summertime and stuff too?
The Root Divin does 4 events a year. So we do 2 in the winter, one in January, which we call the Super Wine Weekend. And then we have one in February, which is our Romancing the Grape, our Valentine
Oh.
event.
That's right.
Right. And then we have the Jour de la Terre in April. And then our final event for the year is Wine Diva in November.
That's us.
Yeah.
But you can, yeah, you're the divas. But you can visit anytime, and that's why we have the passport system. So it makes it fun.
Well, that would,
We're all open year round, so.
that's neat.
One of my classmates was here from Texas, and we had a class reunion, and she and I went and visited all the wineries out there.
It's
Did
fun.
you have a designated
we had-
driver?
I was the driver, so I didn't drink very much.
That wouldn't work for me.
Oh my, she didn't drink very much.
No, I didn't, because I had to drive on them crooked roads. So,
That's not good. But if I tasted all of them, I'd have to have a driver. I would not. I barely made it home from Christmas at my son-in-law's. I was tasting all his new wine he'd made. It was
and that's
fun.
sweet wine, though, that kills you.
Equal amounts of wine and water. Stay hydrated all day. That's a good tip.
He makes some potent ones sometimes. It was good.
Are you sure it wasn't moonshine?
No, no, my dad used to make what he called raisin bounce. You know what that is?
No.
That's when you make wine, that's the settlings from the,
The lees.
that's the bottom of it. And he used to make it, and he used to call it raisin bounce, and boy, you bounced with that thing. That knocked you for a...
He drank it?
Yeah, you drank it.
That's
good.
like the bottom of home brew.
Yeah.
My 2 little brothers got really sick. Everybody leaves the settlings in the home brew, and my 2 little brothers
Decided to drink it.
We have to
decided
recycle
drink it.
that.
Oh my God, they were so sick. Oh.
I don't know how he did it, but he recycled that, and boy, it was good, but man, could knock you on your bottom.
Well, I didn't take the boys home to Mom and Dad. I let them sleep at my house. I told them they were tired. They had to stay. I thought, I'm not gonna let Mom and Dad see what happened at my house. Here I am just married and my brothers get sick.
I love wine. Wine is,
Somebody told me the other day that we should do like Johnny Carson did, like the 10, you know, the tens, and have the
Oh,
guy
yeah.
that told the fortune.
Oh,
I said
yeah.
Marianne
Or
looked
Nick-
cool with
Nick
one of those
Nicholson.
turbans on.
I've done
She
that
would be
before.
perfect. Yeah, she would be perfect
I
for
did it
that.
for Joe Rozier Sr.'s birthday party. I was the lady with the 10 veils.
oh my gosh, I'd love to seen that.
Oh, we had a ball.
Anything else about the,
I think that's everything you need to know. You can check out the website. It's rdbwinetrail.com, or you can go to any of the winery websites and get all the details.
It's
a lot
gonna be
of
a
fun.
beautiful
great.
time of the year. The red buds are out, the
It's
Oh,
wall
just
it is.
plums,
gorgeous.
Isn't it
the
The
dogwoods
dogwoods.
aren't far behind.
Everything is green.
All of a
I
sudden.
know,
Lush
it's so
green.
pretty.
You're gonna see in the vineyard, all the vineyards are just starting bud swell and bud break, and once they start, you can practically watch those vines grow. They grow super fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
my word.
It's a fun time of year.
Just pray that we don't have.
No hail, no hail.
Yeah, we
Well, you
don't-
just missed it today.
Boy,
I
they
guess.
had big ones up
We were
in
very
St.
lucky.
Louis.
We were
Yeah.
very lucky
Oh, out
today.
at Potosi, they had one, lady had it sitting on
Oh, yeah.
her,
Yeah, they
Last
said
year
it was
we got
baseball
wiped out.
size.
Right.
So
Who
we
did?
got our vineyard got wiped out last year due to
Oh,
a
really, from the
hailstorm.
hail?
Mhm.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we did not have a crop last year. So we've got our fingers crossed this year.
Isn't that a shame?
Yeah,
I remember that.
it's farming.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Gotta take the good and the bad.
That's right.
yep.
Good years and bad years.
That's not good.
No.
Okay,
All right.
you can pop
Thank
in
you.
anytime you want to.
Oh,
if
thank you.
wanna-
You can come back and tell us how everything went.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds
And
like
you can
fun.
stay for a while and
Yeah, don't
join
leave
in
me.
the
All right.
conversation.
You've done it to me before.
Are you scared to be left with us?
They look harmless, Bob.
Looks are
You
very
haven't been here when
deceiving.
you're the only guest.
Haven't been around us when we get going.
That's right.
Maybe next time I'll bring wine. That'd be better.
Then Mary, I don't have to have a designated driver to go.
I'll be the designated driver because I don't drink.
Will someone censor in case you get a little loose with your words?
I will do that.
He's got a delay.
Are we
Yeah,
on a delay?
you're on a
Actually,
delay.
when they first started televising, I think it was about 1988 or
We're going in our
98.
fourth year.
It was live, and the next week they decided that they were gonna have to maybe bleep some things, so they kind of put it on delay for a little bit. And that was the city council meetings.
Yeah, that wasn't
No,
us.
That wasn't
wasn't
you,
us.
girls, no.
They did that one night, though they had to cut some out.
Yeah, they had to, just once or twice, they had to cut something out.
You
we
might get
said.
really popular if people start thinking you're gonna slide something in.
Well, my son's a school teacher and
She's about to say
something
she shouldn't.
slipped and we had some kids here and I thought Don had taken the television off already. And I said something that this kid had to come back in and pick it up and I said something I shouldn't have said, I guess. And nobody else caught it. But my son, who's a school teacher, he caught it. And he said, Mom, I thought you said you made sure you didn't say any bad words. And I said, I don't. Well, he informed me that I said something.
Just a little,
Okay,
just a little slip of the tongue.
those things happen once in a while.
Once in a while, once in a blue moon.
Uh,
Okay, Mr. Mueller.
Well, I want
let's-
to talk about some earlier time periods.
Oh, that's great.
The French have been making wine here for over 300 years, so we're going to talk a little bit about the colonial period. It's that time of the year.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
The first off is on the 19th of April at the Felix Valley House from 2 to 4 p.m. Carl Eckford, who's probably the best author on colonial St. Genevieve, anything before 1804, is going to do a book signing for his new book, and it's called Rising St. Louis. And you know, we all hear about how St. Louis was founded by Chouteau and Laclede, and them coming up the river and bypassing St. Genevieve and going to Deschartres and going up and founding St. Louis. And Carl is always doing a lot of good research, and he talks about some other people that were very instrumental in the founding of St. Louis. And they just celebrated their 250th anniversary last year. Sharon Person is a co-author. Both Sharon and Carl have talked at our history conference over the last few years. And they do some really neat research. They get way out there and look at documents that people don't normally look at, and then come up to some very interesting conclusions on that. So it's really good to have Carl coming back to St. Genevieve. He's written, colonial St. Genevieve back when we had the celebration in 1985. He's done books on Bolduc, on Francois Valley, Delassus, Delusière, Stealing Indian Women, which was made into a movie. So Carl is I call him the quintessential author on St. Genevieve's early history. So it's a chance to meet him, buy his book, and it's going to be in the courtyard of the Felix Valley House on Sunday the 19th, and from 2 to 4 p.m. So
Are you gonna have wine?
I'll have to ask Donna about that. It's for someone that doesn't drink. You should,
I wanna make sure my friends have it.
Good.
You're taking care of us.
That's right.
Well, about a week or so after that is going to be the 28th annual L'École de Soldats, which is French for the School of the Soldier, and it's put on by the Holy Family Milice out of Cahokia. And they've been doing this for 28 years. They had traditionally done it at Fort Deschartres, and when the state of Illinois reduced funding for their state parks, they decided to come over here and have this, and they've been here for about 5 years now. It's called the School of the Soldier because they are the Holy Family Milice or militia. And St. Genevieve had a milice or militia. Back in those days, there were some soldiers over, and we're talking before 1763 when we were still ruled by France. There were soldiers, French Marines over at Fort Deschartres, but the little towns like Kaskaskia, St. Genevieve, Cahokia didn't have soldiers here, and yet we had lots of issues with some of the Native Americans and other things that were happening. So men that were between the ages of 15 and 55, and if they could carry a gun, had to become a militia member. And they would train on Sundays after Mass before the ball, and they didn't get called out a lot. They did fight. Our milice did fight in the Battle of Port San Carlos during the American Revolution in 1780, and one of our guys got killed. It was one of our first fatalities as a citizen soldier, a guy named St. Jean. Well, this group, they call it the School of the Soldier because these citizen soldiers always had to learn how to do the drills, the firing, and all of that sort of thing. And so this group has put on every year a program where they bring in speakers to talk about the colonial time period, and in particular before the end of the French and Indian War, which was 1763. So what they do is they come in, they set up a camp down at the Jour de Fête grounds. That's going to be on, they'll be starting to come in on Friday evening, April the 24th. And then on April the 25th, it's open to the public, it's free. They'll have their camp set up down there. They usually have some cannons, they have children's games. They've done a really marvelous job of setting up their campsites. They cook over open fires, little braziers. And it's a good chance to meet and talk to people that have studied that time period and try to reenact it. At 9 o'clock, or just a little before, they kind of parade from the Jour de Fête grounds up to the Welcome Center, where they start having a series of lectures from 9 o'clock until about a little after noon. And this year they have 4, and they have a teacher from the University of Wisconsin in Platteville who's going to talk about how the French not only interacted with the Native Americans but intermarried with the Native Americans. If they were half European, half Native American, they were called Métis, and this is about the Métis. And we had that here in St. Genevieve, but it happened all through, from Quebec, Canada, Ontario, Montreal, all the way down through this part of the
It was
country.
even in my family, my great-grandmother.
Do you know who she was? Well, there were several famous.
I
She was
have the
Indian,
name.
she was Native American?
Yeah,
My
there-
great-great-grandmother.
There was a very famous one over in Kaskaskia, Marie Gruenza, and she was the daughter of a chief, and she converted to Catholicism and was very holy and wanted to devote her life to the church. Well, her father wanted to marry this Frenchman by the name of Aiko, and he was kind of a rounder. And the priest and her father convinced her, and she married him and straightened him out. And eventually he died, and she married another Frenchman. But she was actually buried in the Kaskaskia church
Oh, my goodness.
when she died, which was pretty unusual at that time. So, well, so he's going to talk about that whole culture of combination of European
And what were they called?
and Métis, M-E with a accent, a Q. I think my French is really bad, T-I-S. And,
I never heard that before.
Mm, That's for new.
and we did have a number of them. When the first Europeans came over to Canada, there weren't that many women. So the king sent over what were called the king's daughters. He emptied out some of the prisons and stuff like that and sent the girls over to Canada to become wives of the men there. Well, he did that down in Louisiana too, and it didn't work too well. The Frenchmen down there thought the Native American ladies were much prettier than the ones the king sent over. But that's a whole genealogy in itself, the descendants of the king's daughters.
That's all.
Well, the next lecture is going to be on the music of the 18th century, and that Denny and Barbara Duffy will be doing that, and I've heard them play before. Barbara plays a harp at times, hammered dulcimers, and they're going to talk about that music. And the music of that time period was, especially in this area, was quite a bit different. Many of you have heard Dennis Stromat play. I love his fiddle playing. It's not Zydeco, it's not Cajun, it's called Upper Louisiana, and I swear he could make a Christmas song sound like a dance tune. It's just marvelous the way.
He's great, yeah.
Good beat and good to dance with. So they're going to talk about how that music went about here. Music was always big in St. Genevieve. You know, I remember a guy writing about 1807. He said that he'd come into town and he could hear the guitars playing as he came into town, and the people sitting on the porches singing and telling stories, and they'd have dances, and the pas de deux and the minuet and the fandango were some of the
They
popular.
did that in the parks a lot, didn't they? I remember when
Yep.
we grew up down on like 8th Street.
And you know, there was all these guys, you know, playing their fiddles and guitars and stuff. And
And the old people down there talked about it.
I think when I looked at a Jacques Bourd's business journal from 1800, and there were like 12 people that he sold violin strings to. So we kind of know who the fiddle
Oh my
players
gosh.
were in
Isn't that
1800 here in
something?
St. Genevieve. The other thing, there's a lady Susan Reen Wilson's going to talk about something called finger weaving. I think we're all familiar with spinning yarn and working it on a loom and that. Well, there's a technique that the Native Americans developed called finger weaving. Sometimes it's called Osage finger weaving, but it started out up in Canada, and a little town called L'Assomption was very famous for weaving sashes about that wide. It could have 124 strings that you're going to weave with your fingers. And those sashes are very long because they go around your body twice, and that's really what held your shirt. I mean, that was the belt of the time period here.
Oh, my word.
And so they would weave the sashes and garters to hold your socks up. And there was some very distinctive styles. One was called a flechette or an arrow, because they used different color yarn, and when you end up, you have a bunch of arrowheads going around your sash.
Oh, my God.
There's some with lightning, just some really unusual patterns. It's, I have to say, it's very complicated. I've tried to just do like 6 or 12, and I get confused very easily on that.
It's
Mickey
fascinating.
Ketting, wasn't that what
Yes.
those girls were doing?
No, they might have
Her
been loose.
granddaughter
Were
said-
they loose setting?
But they were little.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't do wide things. They
Yeah.
did
Yeah, well, there's a
smaller things.
technique using a little tool called loose
No,
setting.
they did with their fingers.
They did
Yeah.
it with, okay.
They said it was finger weaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's several different styles, so you end up with those different patterns. But she's going to demonstrate that, and
That'd be interesting.
I've seen some of her work over at Fort Deschartres, and it's beautiful. The last speaker is going to talk about the magic of paper marbling. And back in the days, you know, we have this beautiful wallpaper and everything. Well, they didn't have that back in the 18th century. And when they would bind books, they would like to have the frontispiece be a very nice piece of paper. And so they developed this technique of spreading chemicals or oils or inks on top of water, and then putting the paper in there, and then they do patterns on it, and it's called marbling. And it turns out to be very beautiful. And this gentleman, John Bielik, has been here before but he's going to talk about that and demonstrate it again. It's kind of a neat technique, and I've watched how they, now we have all these camouflage parts on ATVs and gun stocks and stuff. It's kind of done by the same kind of process. They put a film on the top of floated on top of water, and then they put the thing in it. When it comes out, it's all camouflaged.
Oh my.
And so they kind of did this with paper back in the 18th century. So those are the 4 speakers. It's going to end a little bit around noon. After that, they come back and have lunch, and at 2 o'clock they start an auction. And they have people that donate items, and a lot of it is colonial kind of stuff, reenactment stuff. We've done it. I usually donate pecans, which go very good. Everybody likes St. Genevieve pecans. And they have 3 guys that do the auctioneering, and they go by the name of Dewey, Cheatham, and Offen. And it's very funny. You 3 would be a good role model for these guys. And it's a lot of humor. People get into it. There's all different kinds of things, and so that goes on for about 2 hours. And the public's invited to that. If people want to donate things, they could give me a call, and we could get it into the auction. A couple years ago, Bonnie Samuelson donated it turns out it was a jack that would turn a wheel to rotisserize something in a fireplace. It was made in France, and it went for quite a bit of money. And so it's humor, but it's for a good cause. They've been doing this for free for 28 years. We invite kids down while the people are up listening to the lectures. The St. Genevieve Milice will be down at the camp. We'll have some children's games. We can show you some of the tents and how the equipment that the people used. They usually have a cannon firing or 2.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah, which is pretty neat. We got, at the end of the French and Indian War in 1763, we got 5 cannons here in St. Genevieve that came upriver from Fort Massac, which is down by the Ohio and Mississippi. So that was something that we used here to protect our town.
What happened to him?
Don't know.
Somebody's
Cannons,
got 'em.
Yeah,
actually, they went over to Fort Deschartres after it closed down and dug up a cannon. They brought it back here, and they used to shoot it off for the 4th of July. And one year it blew
well,
up.
that was
It blew up.
It blew up.
before my time.
But actually,
Yeah.
Before your
but actually
time,
there were
probably.
6 of them here,
Yes, and they were not big. They were like 2-pounders
but
and 3-pounders.
nobody knows what happened to them.
Nobody knows what happened to
Oh,
them.
we don't.
Yeah.
That seems a shame, because it'd be a part of history that we should have
Yeah.
held on to.
Well, back then, I mean, that was very
Well,
early in our existence, and we probably didn't have more than 60 or 70 people here.
People didn't think about holding on to things like that.
They were trying to
too.
survive.
Yeah, so they go, get rid of it.
Can you imagine how hard it was to live then?
Yeah, but you know what's amazing is that here we're on the frontier, but the French loved the good life also. When you look at, we have several inventories of boats that they brought up the river, and it would be clothing from France, it would be wines, brandies,
Furniture,
furniture. I mean, they liked the good stuff. Now, not everybody could afford it. You know, the Valleys and the St. Jean Beauvais and the Janis were the more wealthy ones, and they could afford to have some of this. French soaps. Even in 1800, we see parasels and silk thread and silk cloth. So it was, and on Sundays when they'd have their balls or the King's Ball on Epiphany, people would dress up in their finery. Now, it wasn't the latest fashion, because I mean they were so far removed from France, but they did like to
Was
dress
some
up.
of those pictures, like the one on the bulletin, with the fancy dresses on, that was probably back,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
back
and
then in the 1800s.
well, the dresses that women wore in, from 1770 to 1800 are the robe anglaise, the robe François, and there's several other styles that are, you see it, Marie Antoinette, and some of all that hair piled up
They
and
were
everything.
beautiful.
Yeah, it really was.
And Becky Millinger is good at
Yeah, she's-
reproducing those. She does really pretty.
She's gotten into it, and she's
She's very
done
good.
colonial costumes, and she does Civil War era too, which
Yeah.
is with the big hoops and all
And
of it.
see, it's easy for people to wear those back then. Nowadays, we're spoiled because we have air conditioning. And when it's hot outside, we don't want to put on 25 petticoats and a 500-pound dress.
Can you imagine how,
That's why they were so skinny. You carried all that stuff.
I seen some heavy set ones.
Well, if you ever noticed pictures of dresses from that time period, especially the French, you always notice that the sleeves came down to about here because it was considered immoral to show your elbow.
Hard to
really?
get
You're
suntan because back then, if you got suntan, your skin wrinkled very bad. And my grandma used to say, you don't go out in the sun.
They all wore long sleeves then.
Because sun dries your skin and makes it leathery like. And she was right, because I never got in the sun and my skin's not, well, now it's.
I was in the sun all the time. Mine's not leather.
it don't make any difference if I go in the sun or not, I'm just brown. Mine just stays that way. Oh,
But
my.
it
So,
is,
did they have, how long did they wear those kind of dresses?
Well, it started changing around 1800 with the Louisiana Purchase. You start getting into what's known as the Empire style, and I am no stylist, but the very high cut dress. And the men started changing. They started going to the real high collars and the real thin, really tight pants. It's
leotard,
Regency.
I call
It's the
them.
Regency style.
Right.
And so that it started changing much more rapidly because communications started changing much more rapidly. Transportation became easier, and the people making the clothes always wanted to change them, so you buy a different
Well,
style.
that's worse now than it used to be
Yeah.
then.
oh, yeah.
When we were in school, we wore the same thing for 4 years probably.
That's
or
right.
5, yeah.
If you were lucky, you were the oldest and it wasn't a hand-me-down.
Exactly. I got my cousin's hand-me-down, so
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
Ah, I got him.
I liked it.
This thing ends on Sunday. On Sunday morning, they're there from around 9 till about noon when they close up. One of the things we started last year is on Friday afternoon, we do a little session with the Valley fourth graders
Oh,
to
I
teach
think
them a
that's
little
cute.
bit about some of the colonial stuff, and
I bet they like that.
yeah, it's a lot of fun because we get them involved in it to do things. One of them, they learn how to march to French commands.
Oh, my.
And if you ever seen us
luck with
older
these
guys try
boys.
to do that, it's pretty fun.
I have 2 in that class, so we'll see how well you do.
So actually, it
Yeah.
starts on Friday.
Well, this is
For
a
the
special
kids,
thing. This is
yeah.
just for the kids.
Okay, so it's all day Saturday,
It's
and
all
that's,
days. Well, it's
that's when the
from
talks
like
are?
8 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
That's when the talks are on
Well,
Saturday?
yeah, the talks are on Saturday in
Saturday,
the
okay.
morning. The group normally has a dinner for just the participants in costume that go to the dinner, and that's always a lot of fun too, because a lot of them cook over open fires and bring their specialty to that. And Sunday morning is just a good chance to interact. If you got kids, it's a chance to learn about the St. Genevieve area before we were Spanish and before we were American.
Where did they set up the camp?
Down to the Jeu de Fête grounds, the Moses
okay.
Austin, if the creeks are down.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years ago,
If
we
it's
were
dry
really
enough.
worried. It did one of those things like the other day.
Well,
Yeah.
that was really bad. the
It
other
was.
day.
Yes,
My
You might have
goodness.
that.
Oh, my
Our yard
Lord.
looked like a river. I mean, there wasn't grass showing anywhere.
I found a,
Really, up there?
Up there, yeah, it was.
Can't walk
really
in
rough.
my backyard right now.
back in
Unless you wanna
1882
sink
was
by like
the
that.
first issue of the Herald. And there was an editorial in the Herald, and it said that we have this beautiful town, all these beautiful houses, and beautiful gardens. You can smell the roses and the resitas and all that. But it said we have 2 problems. We still have 2 problems. The North and South Gabbery Creeks.
And we still have them.
And
And we
they were
still-
already moved up here at that time.
Oh, yes. Oh, they moved up here between 1785 and 1794. So this is almost 100 years later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they actually moved up here because
you
of
know the
river
creeks-
flooding all the time?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and back in 1785, it's called the year of the big flood or the year of the big water.
That's when it separated Kaskaskia? Is
No, that
no,
came
that was
later.
before.
This
Oh.
is 1785. The town was about 50 years old. It's about 2 miles down on the river. in the big field near where the port is, the new port. And in 1785, it flooded so much that it was almost to the chimneys of the houses. And Shudo supposedly came down from St. Louis, tied his boat up to a chimney and ate his breakfast. But they didn't move all at one time like they did at Balmar a couple of years ago. It took them until 1794 before they even moved the church up here. So it was a gradual transition to what they call the Little Hills. And if you live down on Front Street, it's not very high.
No,
But that
Now,
flood,
didn't the river used to come
very
in town
close,
further
very
than
close.
it is
And
now?
you ask about Kaskaskia, and in the 1880s, Kaskaskia was like a mile up the Kaskaskia River. It wasn't right on the Mississippi. And people would cross the river here, and there was a trail that went across the peninsula to Kaskaskia. Well, in the 1880s, the river cut, you know how it cuts a slough behind, or it cut behind the Kaskaskia and destroyed it. And there's a legend called the Curse of Kaskaskia, where a Native American had fallen in love with a French girl, but the people didn't want him to marry her, so they tied him to a log and threw him in the river.
And he did it.
He cursed, he said, "You will be destroyed by water also." And they were.
Wow.
When I worked at Rosier's many years ago, the Myers, can't remember his first name.
Jack?
I had it a minute ago, but now I lost it. He lived in St. Mary's. He was an elderly man. And he said that the river's going to change course again over a period of time, because you could tell by how the ground was shaping on the main street in St. Mary's. That was 50-something years
Well, you
ago,
know, it was
and
very-
it hasn't happened yet.
It was very close to St. Mary,
Yes.
and it was very close here too. In the 1880s, it changed here. You ever get the chance to fly from St. Louis to Memphis, and they go down the river, and you're looking out the window, you can see that the river does all of this turning.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, it'll cut through that edge, and that's what happened at Kaskaskia. And that's why Kasky Island is on this side of
This side.
the river.
My grandfather was down in Belgium, and they put the levee through down there, and they used the earth to make the levee. And all the old farmers down there all said that the river will take back what is theirs. And it did.
We've been trying to control that river for
Yes.
several hundred years.
And
And
said, and you can't do it. And
But
lo
it
and
washed
behold,
the
they
bridge
came and
out down
walked
there,
it
didn't
out.
ya?
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever control it.
Yeah, my dad lived down there when that
Yeah.
happened. when the
you know,
river
down at
washed
the
it out.
River Gauge Park, they have the sign that shows all the
Right.
floods. Well, the 1785 flood wouldn't even show up on that
Oh, my God.
thing. There was one in 1844, which was 3 foot higher than the 1785 flood. And I think it would be just right at the bottom. And you go from, that's in the 30s, and you know, we were at high 49
Oh, my
with the
God.
93 flood.
We used to play in the river water, but then they didn't block anything off. They just let it flood. But down on Main Street, we used to build little boats out of wood. Wonder we could even
I know.
so, put tin over them, and then we get in the boats and ride in the ditches.
I mean, there's been, you look back, and even in the 1790s, Delassus was talking, he said it flooded 2 out of 5 years, you know, and they'd lose their crops down in the big field. And
They lost a lot down there, didn't they, in the big
Mhm.
field
Yeah.
over the years, a lot of
Yeah.
farmers.
Well, that mound that's down in there, now, was that an Indian mound at one time?
it's called the Mississippian culture, and if you've been to Cahokia Mounds up outside of Collinsville, that's the same culture. They're called the Mound Builders, and they disappeared about the time the Europeans were coming into this area.
Oh, really?
And I mean, our Native American culture goes back to 15,000 BC here. There's various periods, but the mound builders, and there were a number of them. One of them got, with one of the levees that broke, it scoured through one of those back in, I can't remember which flood it was, and a lot of them have been disappearing because they're being farmed and they lose a half an inch a year, a half an inch a year.
Well, there was more than one.
Oh,
down
yeah, there were
where
like
I-
2 or
there
3
was-
of 'em.
Yeah, there was, I
Yeah,
think
we have
about
a
3
pic-
when I first came here. There was this huge one, then there was 2 smaller ones.
We have pictures
And you
of
don't even
that.
see them 2 smaller ones
No,
anymore.
no, and that's because of farming.
I know I had an uncle from Illinois came over and he was just amazed with those things. And he wanted to find a farmer to let him go in and dig in them and see if he could find
They're
something.
over on the Illinois side, if you're driving down Highway 3, down before you get to the Murfreesboro cutoff, you'll see one on the right.
Yeah, they're
They're all the
there.
way down into Ohio, and when I'm going to Atlanta, there's a area there where they have mound builders. It was a very extensive culture. They think they traded with people from Mexico and up in Cahokia. I
Isn't
think they
that
had
amazing how
100,000
they could
people
get
that
away?
lived there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 100,000?
That's so amazing how they could go so far.
And they
Think
built
how
those
long it
mounds
took
with
'em.
baskets of dirt. So, yeah, it's, I think that's one of the eras that we need to do a lot more research on is our Native American history and also
I think so,
our
too.
African American history. And we're starting to get to see some of that, and I think it's marvelous. It's much more difficult to research, but they were so much involved in our life, the life here, that we can't forget them.
It's,
That's when a man came in the winery when I worked down for Charlottesville down on Main Street. And he looked at me and he said, "You're Cherokee." And I said, "What?" He said, "You're Cherokee Indian." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I know I'm Indian, but I didn't know I was Cherokee." He said, "I can tell by your features." I said, "Well, I don't think I look like an Indian."
I don't have
But
no
he did.
feathers.
Yeah, I don't wear
maybe that's where I
feathers.
get my brown blood from. My brown skin.
We have a number of Native Americans buried in the cemetery over here, the old one. We have the daughter of a Peoria Indian chief buried there. And there was a number of them. You'll see in the church records, the French called them sauvages. Savages was the term, but that was what you would see in the church record.
Oh, my God.
They're here in our old cemetery, but they're not marked.
Well, we have very few marked ones. We believe there's between 3,500 and 5,000 people buried there, and there's only 300 tombstones.
Ooh,
They did a lot of wooden crosses, a lot of metal crosses, a lot of
Yes, and they, yes.
sandstone. We've had people, I bet you could find tombstones out in people's garden here.
Oh, yeah.
There
Because it-
used to be those above ground ones there too.
Well, those,
And in Perryville, and they're no longer there.
well, they're here. We have the above ground ones. That's purely ornamental. Nobody's buried above ground.
No, but I meant, you
Yeah.
know, they hadn't built up, but those are,
Well,
down in
that's the way it
Perryville
is
are all
out
gone.
out at our graveyard out by the football field.
Well, I don't think there's any of like the New Orleans style.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I took care of the graveyard out, the city graveyard. And there's a lot of people
Did you
that
read
just
it?
put crosses and stuff.
Mhm.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they'll say, well, this is where we think Mom was buried at. And I'd say, well, which funeral home took care of it? And if they would say Stanton Wood or Bosler, and we go back to them, well, they didn't keep good records
I
back
think, yeah, I
then.
remember you showing me the map of the cemetery that showed where Senator Lynn was buried out there. And there were several boxes that says unknown.
Unknown, because we go out there and you knew a grave was there, but there was no marking who it was.
Did you know down in Perryville, your grandpa took care of the cemetery
Yeah,
down there?
yeah.
And he had them all on his head. And when he died,
It went with
they
it.
went with him.
I mean,
That's so
we've got some
funny.
beautiful cemeteries around St. Genevieve.
Oh, we do.
Down at River of Oz, there's more of what we,
And
the
Weingarten.
iron crosses. There's a lot of them there.
Weingarten's got a lot of pretty
Yeah.
ones too.
Lutheran's got a nice
Lutheran, yeah.
graveyard up here by.
Yeah.
Audubon
Well, they
Estate.
closed Memorial Cemetery about 1880 and said no more burials could be there. And Mrs. Valley
Right.
gave land for the new cemetery if she could be buried in the old cemetery.
I remember when she died.
Yeah.
Wasn't that, now
No,
you're
no,
talking.
no, she died in 1894.
No,
and
not
I
that
know-
one. No, not that one. Wasn't
That's
there
why you
another
took that
one?
look.
Wasn't there another one in the, she had a boyfriend that was a prince? that used to come over here that lived in the house up there? What
Yeah,
was
in the
her name?
Geetwer house. Yeah, no.
What was her name?
Actually, there were people buried after the cemetery closed, and
Yeah.
Mrs.
Because I
Valley.
think she was buried in there, that
Mrs.
lady
Valley-
that lived in that house.
No, right after they closed it, about 2 years later, the Oddfellows, who had a section up by Chipper's place, buried a person there illegally, and they were taken to court.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
Yeah, but we never could figure out what happened after that. But then Mrs. Valley, Felix Valley, when she died in 1894, was buried there. And then Senator Lynn was dug up in 1906, he and his wife, and moved to the new cemetery. And then in 1936, they moved him back. So he's,
Now, who was that lady that lived in that house up there then?
I don't know, I've heard just,
It was I mean, she was related to the Valley.
but there would be no one.
But she wouldn't have been buried there?
Mhm.
Because that would have been like in the 50s, I guess, early
Oh,
50s
yeah,
or
the
late
last
40s.
burial in there was 1894,
Oh,
or
because
the
I always
reburial.
thought she was buried
Yeah.
there, but she's not.
Well, you know, what the law they passed in 1880 was that nobody could be buried in the city limits. So the Lutherans opened up the Lutheran cemetery north of town. The church got the new cemetery at Valley Springs and then gave the Crestlawn to the city. Well, they're all in the city limits now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably still on the books.
Probably is.
Yeah.
As my kids say, when I took care of the city cemetery for all those years, and I marked me and Roger off 2 places, and oh my, you ought to heard my kids. Mom, that's not the Catholic cemetery. And I said, I'm sure God has more things to do than to look down and see that wall, brick wall, and say, oh my, they're on the wrong side. I said, it don't work like that, kids. Boy.
So do you still know where your plot
I
is?
still have my plot.
In the crest line.
Press
Crestlawn,
lot.
yeah.
And I wanted to be buried by my brother and sister-in-law, and it was filled up, so I had to go way over on the hill.
Did you?
Yeah. I said, call them up and see if they'll trade with me. She said, we can't do that. And I said, yeah, you just pick up the phone and
And
say,
say, will you trade?
will you trade?
And do a little pencil and a little eraser.
I think in the public cemetery now in Crestline, you can be buried double deep.
Oh, really?
Yes,
And that was passed about 3 or 4 years ago.
yes.
Well, that makes
And there's a
sense.
lot of people want that, because it really saves on
Saves a
your.
lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, and it saves on your grave sites.
Well, that's why they closed the old cemetery. Every time they dug, they'd get into bones. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
and
there was that many people buried there.
well, we know for sure that there's more than 3,500 because the church records are very specific that say we buried them in the
Oh my
cemetery of the
gosh,
parish.
Isn't
But
that amazing?
the upper level towards, what's that, Jefferson, was the Protestants were buried there. There's a mass burial for a steamboat explosion. There's the Oddfellows up by Chippers. That
Now, who are the Oddfellows?
it's a fraternal organization like the Knights of Columbus or
Oh,
the
really?
Eagles.
Oh, I never
You had
heard
the
of
Knights
that.
of Pythias back then, and the Oddfellows, and the Woodmen of America was another big group here.
Huh.
People were joiners back then.
Joiners.
Yeah, they liked to have clubs and
That was their
organiza-
social life, probably.
Yep.
Probably. You're probably right.
Yeah, we used to go down to the armory down there and shoot bows and arrows. That was our social life.
How come every time I come, it's not what's new, it's what's old?
Our minds are old and we're reminiscing. Okay, what's new, Mary Ann? Tell
Yeah.
me what's new in the paper.
Well, we do have some new things coming up. The peanut collector, but that's done. That was on, no,
No, it's
it's
coming up
coming up.
Sunday.
that's
or
coming
Sat-
up Saturday. Now, that's
Are you
neat.
sure it's Saturday or something?
Uh-huh, the 11th. It says Micro Tel Inn and
That's Saturday.
Suites.
That's
Highway
Saturday.
32 on Saturday, April 11th. Mark Whitson. Now, I think that's neat, from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. Now, who would think to collect those?
Who would think to collect little animals that walk on tables?
Little one.
Isn't she the one that collects them?
This one here.
Mike Knopf.
He's Here's
Is
our
he-
here's our
Is he making
collector.
fun of me?
Yours walks, mine hops.
Yeah, well,
Let's see, and then Head Start has their birthday, which is April 17th.
Whose birthday is it?
Head Start, National Organization 50-year anniversary.
and good old Susie Bach, how many years was she
Oh,
out?
I
Did
bet
they
Oh my
she's
start?
there at
gosh,
least 50.
yeah.
She
Because
might
they
have
have
been
a,
there when they started.
I
it.
think she was.
I think she was too. They're going to have a tree planting ceremony and so they want visitors to come. Then we have the Chamber of Gala, what's that?
Chamber of Commerce is having their yearly meeting.
Banquet.
Right, at the
Yes.
Dubourg Center, is that
Yes.
right? Okay, that's April the 17th, doors open at 5:30. Cocktails at 6, dinner at 7, tickets are $25 per person.
And the options for women, that's next week too, isn't it? I think.
Well, I don't see that on
Next
there.
week.
The
the week
VK or
after.
whatever, either next week or the week
Barbecue.
after. No, they have,
Barbecue at Bloomsdale.
this is a dinner. The Bosler boys cooking.
Is it out at Bloomsdale?
At the KC Hall.
Okay.
What's that?
It's in the paper somewhere, so look it up. And there's still tickets available.
Well, and then you
Mhm.
talked about book signing, which you can't forget about that. That's April the 19th. And that's at the Shaw House from 2 to 4. So everybody needs to go to that because he's wonderful. I've read some of his, they're wonderful. I like history. And then April the 24th, we have the Women's Health 5K. You had that, didn't you, on your last time?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Okay, that take place at 6 o'clock on Friday, April the 24th, beginning and ending in downtown St. Genevieve. Pets and strollers are welcome. Registration fee is $15.
Is this the run at the hospital you're talking
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I think it is the run. The Art of Women's Health, 5K,
Right.
run and walk. Then we have the art walk also on April the 24th. And that will include the 5K thing. And I've got to read for that.
You're gonna run. You're gonna run, aren't you?
And that's on count.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
That's a fun one. I think you get wine and chocolate at the end
Yes,
of
you
that
do.
one.
You do,
Uh-huh.
you do. It doesn't say that here.
And tomorrow
last year.
is.
Oh, it says
Oh.
for the 5K, you get wine, yes.
Tomorrow is the big dinner at the Baptist Church, the spring dinner.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Mhm.
And then we're having Help Pack a Truck to Fight Hunger, April 18th at Rogers Country Mart parking lot. The Women's Club, GFWC of St. Genevieve, is asking for your help in donating food to the crisis time, during this crisis time of the year. St. Gen Ford has provided us with a truck to collect the non-perishable foods. All the food will be donated to the First Presbyterian Church at 160 South Main Street for the food pantry for the needy. Please help by donating food or money for us to buy items listed below. They need boxed cereals, crackers, canned pastas, dried beans, canned pasta or just dry pasta, canned tomatoes, cake mixes, peanut butter, canned vegetables, canned stews, macaroni and cheese, pasta sauce,
To put on the pasta.
to put on the pasta, yes. Or you could use the canned tomatoes.
Yeah, either are.
Hamburger helper, Jell-O or pudding mixes, jellies, canned soup, canned tuna. If you have any left over from Lent, now it's time to get rid of it. Canned chili, canned fruit, rice, and any kind of boxed snacks. And that's the 18th out at the Country Mart. the Women's Club are kicking off their 125th anniversary of the founding of the International General Federation of Women's Club by sending 2 students on a Southmore pilgrimage to Jeff City. Dalton Giesler, right?
Easler, yeah.
And Benjamin Roth. I taught Benjamin.
Boy, he's tall.
I taught Benjamin when he was 4 years old in
He's tall.
preschool.
I was standing by him the other night, I went, oh my gosh, are you ever tall? He
I
said,
know.
I know.
The group will hold Pack a Truck on the 18th.
That's a choo-choo train,
I
not a
thought
tornado.
it was a tornado warning. I was gonna run to the basement. Women's Club members will
Tell
be
Don we're coming
wearing
down.
their spring hats and outfits at their monthly meeting at the community center. And the local club will celebrate their 125th anniversary on April 24th with a social hour and dinner at the Cafe Genevieve. The following week, beginning April 29th, members will attend the GFWC of Missouri State Conference in Springfield, where several St. John's students have been entered as a state level in the youth riding contest. So those are all the things that are coming up for GFWC Women's Club, so mark that down on your calendars.
Okay, and the Center of Life Banquet is what I was talking about a while ago. It's at Bloomsdale, 6:30 to 9 on April 16th. There's a few tickets left, but not too many.
And then they're gonna have a concert, right?
The next day, there's going to be a concert up at St. Jen in the Pack Room.
Is that the one that's for the
And there's
night?
still
Yeah,
tickets for
this
that one
here.
also. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one,
And
isn't
then
it?
we have the Parkinson Pals are coming to our next What's New. So if anybody else out there wants to come, or if you want to come back and
Who's
talk some
coming
more
this-
about something,
Who's coming?
Jean
Grifford.
Oh,
Grifford
that's right.
and the Parkinson Pals.
She said we might be with Jean, because nobody signed up to come and talk
Who
with
might
her.
be with Jean?
Me and you and Mary Ann,
Oh, okay. Jean told you that?
yeah.
Oh, boy.
I said, Jean, you told them how easy it is, didn't you? And she said, they've been there, Mary Ann, they know how easy it is.
It's,
But she's
it's
bringing her
very
buddies with
difficult
her,
to
aren't
follow
you?
that group. They're such courageous ladies.
They are. It's
And
wonderful.
It's-
Wonderful. I love having them as guests.
Who
They
is it?
Just
The
the Parkinson's Pals,
Support
yeah.
group, yeah.
They're
They
wonderful.
really are supportive of each other, and they want to share with everybody how the disease acts and signs, and just, they're very, very open
Very
and
eloquent
want to talk
ladies.
about it. And they're very educated, you know, toward the disease, or, yeah, it's very nice. And I see where you're going to start serving on Sunday down at the Audubon.
Well, we have been
Oh, you
serving.
have been.
We've been doing,
I
we
missed-
had been serving breakfast, but for some reason that
No,
didn't.
I meant the chicken,
Well-
the dinner.
Well, no, we do family style. We've been doing that almost from the beginning.
Oh,
Was that on here?
I thought something
It's probably in
different.
an
How
A.
did your,
Family
Mother's
style
Day.
dining, Sunday
your
from 10 to
breakfast thing
5.
go Easter Sunday?
Well, Easter was a wonderful day. We had a great crowd.
Well, I've seen how busy you guys were.
Yeah.
Somebody told me about that.
Yeah, it says, join us for family style dining, Sunday
Right.
from 10
So,
to 5.
you know,
So you've been doing that?
We've been doing family style dinners
Okay.
from the very beginning.
That's
We
the
had been-
first time I saw that.
We had been serving breakfast, but it was a very good breakfast, but it just didn't seem to go over, so it took a lot of work to prepare.
So now
for it.
you're not
Right.
gonna have it anymore?
No, we're gonna do kind of some different things.
See, every time I get told.
You're gonna
my
do
kids
this,
are
though.
doing
Something, then you won't do it.
Then they can't.
Stay with
Are
us.
we still on, Don?
Yeah, he's gonna come up and talk.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
So come down and enjoy some family style dinners. We usually have some kettle beef,
I have
fried
had-
chicken,
Yeah.
and some other, some pork dishes and stuff.
I had some friends who went down there, said it was great.
Well, hello, Don, how are
Hello,
you?
hello, it's
You're
raining
going
again.
to join
What's
us.
up?
Lightning and rain.
Thank you,
Lightning and
weatherman, you got it right. Because it's doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
He
That's how
usually
I-
gives us the weather and it's
That's
wrong.
how I
It's
tell.
wrong.
And
You
it's
know,
wrong.
I say I can look out, I have about this much window that I can look out from. That's all I see, and I can tell people what it's doing right there, and the people across the street get a perfect weather forecast because I'm talking about their house.
You're talking about while you're on air.
But,
Yes.
but sometimes you screw up.
I read what they say.
Just say,
I read what they say.
okay, I'm not arguing with you.
I accurately read what they say.
Okay. Sometimes you
And
screw up.
sometimes it isn't
Well,
right.
if it's not right, it's not me. I mean, after all,
It's NOAA Weather Radio, right?
well, it's no weather. I want y'all to hear the wet radios when there's storms.
Oh,
But,
that's the only time
Very
it's
good
on?
conversation this evening. I've been enjoying it.
Well, thank you.
And I was glad he's told the story about the cannon that
Isn't
blew
that
up.
interesting? He's always got interesting things.
Oh, I love to listen to you talk.
He could talk, you could come every week and be
Yeah.
our guest.
No.
It'd be a lecture series.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, it's not what's new, it's what's old.
That's because we're old.
I'll
So,
have to do that to you one day. One day, instead of saying what's new, it'll say what's old.
what's old instead of new?
Oh,
Join
Yeah.
us for what's old.
oh, good Lord.
Can I call you back later?
No, she's calling in, Mary Ann.
And I'll give you a call back, okay?
Was she on the phone?
She's on the phone.
I've heard of that happening to actors who are,
On set.
not
I
so
had
much
to
on
answer
stage,
that. That
but
was
on
long
set with their
distance.
children or something, and their cell phone will go off. And that's considered to be an absolute no-no. I mean,
Oh,
Uh-oh.
we get by
not
with
for
it.
you can do it, but I'm talking about these actors.
That was the one person calling in for the show.
Yeah,
And you tried to
And you
call
turned
back
Wrong
later.
phone.
Oh,
oh, okay,
you took the phone out.
It's road phone.
still works,
Oh, there it is.
it's got
The
battery.
hotline.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's the
Don, what are you
hotline.
gonna talk to us about?
Well, I was gonna mention that, on the 24th, I think it's the 24th of
Sorry.
April, let me look at the calendar again, yeah.
Yes.
Friday the 24th, approximately, we may be signing off for a few days, because all the wiring that I've put in over the past 20 years,
Has
as, you know, it just,
anybody ever seen that wiring?
oh, yeah.
I have.
And it just needs to be done professionally. And then they finally decided that this would be a good time, and they're gonna do some remodeling downstairs, give me a new console and.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Oh,
get
my
some-
They're
God.
gonna buy you a
Different
new
equipment.
computer too?
Hopefully at some point, because we've had lots of computer issues.
So anybody out there that wants to send some money to to
St. John
St.
TV.
Jen TV, send her in and we'll get a new computer for Dawn.
Yeah, they're spending a pretty good sum of money to have all this done professionally. You know, because, when I put in something, when I put a box in that needs to be in, I have to do it quickly, because I want to get it on the air and get it fixed. And once, if we get a picture, I'm happy. I don't care what it looks like behind the scenes. As long as it looks good on the tube, I'm happy, you know.
That's your job.
That's what counts, right? But
That's right.
there are some things that we gotta touch up and make things a little more attractive. Then we'll have a little open house downstairs and show it off. But,
Well, that's nice.
yeah.
You need to put an elevator in, then we could have our show down there again.
I've been telling Mary Ann that for years, haven't I? And I said, we could even put, I don't need so much an elevator as a door between the stairwell
Yes.
and the front,
In City Hall.
instead of having to go outside and come in.
Right.
But for
You
your.
know, we could do one of those rope elevators.
Yeah,
That'd work.
well, look, dumb waiters.
Yep. Put dumb, dumb people.
Put enough weight on
She
it.
wants a dumb waiter now.
Pass on that one.
She's not gonna touch it.
Didn't kids used to play in those when they had them in the
That would have been
houses?
bleeped out if he was downstairs.
What? What'd she say? I didn't hear.
No, don't repeat it.
By the way, we do not have a delay. We've never had a delay, Bob. Never.
Well, they, on the,
It looks
when I
like
looked
it.
up the first week's showing, they had a big discussion
Look,
about
my head's
that.
not moving at
Because
all.
of,
Well, I told them it's
Did you
technically
have that
unfeasible
moving?
No, it's
at the
not.
price
Yeah, we have a
would-
second delay on
would
that.
could
take
afford.
It's
it.
gonna
Yeah.
move in a few seconds.
See,
and
So
then-
now
Yeah.
we are
It will.
Now it's
delayed,
moving.
we're delayed 4 seconds
Now
between
watch.
what?
See?
Yeah, there is a 4-second delay, but that's charter, that's not us.
I know.
See there?
Yeah, yeah, that's,
I love it when everything's going and somebody's saying something and their mouth's not moving and then all of a sudden it starts
yeah, for
moving.
some, why is that? Why,
What the
why can't they
heck
get
is
the
going-
sound and the picture to coincide anymore?
That happened
I
on
mean-
television the other night.
Well, it happens to us, some of the videos we show are like that, I don't know why. You know, I put the DVD in the slot just like I do all the others, and some of them,
So finish telling us, are we gonna be on television or not?
well, we're supposed to be back by the time you guys are doing your show, second
Okay.
Wednesday of the month of May.
Cause I don't wanna be talking into nothing.
No. But we were talking before off
I
the
do
air,
that a lot.
and I think this would be a neat thing for someone to do. If you own a business in town, or if you do something in town, and you'd like to have the ladies come out and do their show from your business.
Oh,
Now, we couldn't do it live, we'd have to do it taped. But can't you just see you guys at Country Bars? Yeah, just as people walk in, we have a table set up and says, what's new, and you have guests there and cameras and people going, what's going on? It's the What's New show.
I think you should go drinking on the wine trail. That'd be a really good
No,
show.
Mary Ann's the designated driver.
That would be a great one.
I heard that.
I'm the director.
Well, but we were talking earlier about doing it out on the front porch of City Hall. We
Yes,
could do that.
Don said, out here, I said, not tonight. I'm not sitting out
We
there
could
in the
actually do
rain.
that live, or we could put you underneath the sign across the street and have the
John
cameras
was
over here.
changing that tonight.
I know,
saw
I
it.
know. But you know, we have to spice it up. We've been doing, we
Why
do
did
four
Somebody
days.
suggested the other day that we do some goofy things like Johnny Carson used to do.
I saw that. I heard
like you
that.
have
And-
not done goofy things before?
Pardon?
We always have our little goofy animals.
Yeah, you didn't have Bob's today.
Well, it's
No, it
no
was
holiday
Easter.
now.
Oh, what, this gotta be a holiday. Every day has a holiday. Where's your Chase's calendar?
So, Laura,
Oh my.
We'll
Don't you
have
have-
to think of
you know what
Just
something.
Chase's
one find
calendar is?
something like that.
It's a
Mary
calendar
Ann's
of every
house.
day showing all the events of that day. Not a history thing, but the current things that are happening on that day. And you would be amazed. Every day of the year, there's probably a dozen things happening. Celebrations, you know, activities across the country.
What do you want?
Today's National Empanada Day, FYI.
What
It's
is
a what?
that?
What?
Every day is something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
What's today?
Esplanade Day? I never heard of it.
yesterday was
Beer
uh,
day.
Beer day.
Yeah. That's
Where
right.
do you
Oh,
read all this
wonderful.
stuff
Beer
at? Where
day.
did
I
you
get
get
an
this
email every
calendar?
day. Go to punchbowl.com
Mhm.
and they'll send you an email every day and tell you what that day is.
Oh, really?
We used to use the Chase's calendar. It
Interesting.
used to be, you know, bound up, and you had to pay for it. It was expensive. But the radio station only bought one because they figured it was good every year.
And the same thing happens every
That would be
day,
a good
every
idea.
Well,
year.
because
one
every day is a
location.
certain thing.
That'd be a good
Now they're on
idea.
the web.
And
When
every
do you-
month is designated a certain month.
Oh, usually a dozen or
Yeah.
more
And
different
it's
designations.
punchbowl.com.
Do you want me to start wearing my,
Wrap.
my hair wrap?
Salmi,
Yeah.
Salmi, is that how you
With
say
a
that?
big crystal
Salmi?
ball.
What did he
And we
call
could
it?
have
Some what
somebody's
Johnny
skin.
called it?
Karnak the Magnificent.
Karnak,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said do like the 10 things like Jimmy,
David
Phil-
Letterman.
David Letterman does,
yeah.
yeah.
But they have to be local. They have to be 10 reasons why City
10
Hall did
reasons
this.
why there's
Yeah.
potholes in our street. Because the city don't have no money to fix them.
And nobody will pass
What town,
tax.
what is it, is it Germany where the storekeepers are expected to keep the sidewalks and street in front of their businesses clean?
We used to have, that was an ordinance here at one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they need to bring that one back.
And they had to fix their sidewalks too when they got bad. They had to concrete them over.
What's the worst place in St. Genevieve?
I would say in front of the group homes and Dr. Monahan's.
Oh, that's.
I would say the railroad crossing on 4th Street.
What's the matter with that?
Oh my gosh.
Do you ever go that way, Ari?
Every day almost. Why?
Well, that's a,
You could lose your whole car when
You
you're
notice
in
you're
it.
going slower.
How fast are you
This is-
going?
That must be a
The
speed bump.
faster you go, the bumpier it gets.
Now, I did read the city administrator's report that he'll be presenting tomorrow evening, and he said he met with the UP about that. He's supposed to put in a formal note.
Oh, really?
I wrote him a
Oh,
letter
you
years
did?
ago, 20 years ago. I got the letter back from him, and they were gonna take care of it in 2 years. And that probably was in 1984.
Well, you ought
But
to,
you know what? Our government's slow.
that'd be neat to see that letter and say, well,
I
they
don't
haven't
know
done it
where,
yet.
I don't even know if it's still out in any of my files.
Oh, it was
I
over
never-
there in your files on
I
the
never
other side?
took any.
But I think that'd be a good idea to go to some of these events and make a tape.
Yeah. Do your show.
Have at it, Mary.
And I'll bet you we get a little donation from the business to help.
We'll put
To
on
take
there.
us off the air.
Don needs a new computer. Put some money in this box.
You have a little tip jar kind of thing.
Could
So
wear a
is
bikini
that all
stand
you
out
wanted
there
to
and say,
tell
"We-"
us?
Well, yeah, that we're gonna be off the air for a while. People will have to be patient with
Are
us.
you rested up now?
From what? From walking upstairs?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
So it'll be probably about 6-7 days.
That's what we're estimating. That's what we're estimating.
Unless you run into problems.
Well, these guys are good. I don't think we'll have any problems.
Who is it, Larry, Moe, and Joe?
No, Dewey, Cheatham, and
Often.
What was that doing?
Dewey, Cheatham, and Often.
No, I think that's cute. That's the best one.
Well, you know what, I guess this is enough silliness for one night.
well, but we can't go off until I go downstairs and push the button.
So we'll just sit here and stare at the camera
Yeah.
until then?
We could sing and dance.
Yeah. Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, you first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, or we could get up on the table and do a little taekwondo like,
Yeah,
like
like
Austin
Austin
Cobble.
did, yeah.
Austin Cobble.
Do the thing.
I thought, boy, that table tips over.
I ran into him,
Okay.
him down at the restaurant.
And he
Oh,
still hasn't
God.
grown any much, has
No. And he walked
Still
by and
little.
I said, I can't remember what we called you. And he said, you can call me Austin. And I thought, that's not what it was.
he? It was Beaver.
No, no, it wasn't. It was Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just,
Oh, he
You
did
take
say
your life into your hands.
that was
and you come
terrible.
on the
That
show.
was, yeah, you embarrassed the poor boy.
I
You
know.
didn't embarrass him. That makes him strong.
I'm going downstairs. This is starting to go.
Yes.
Okay.
So say goodnight.
Well, it
Jeff.
was nice
All right.
seeing you, Don. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Good
night.
Right, Don.
Oh,
They have a new board almost now, don't they? I
I
didn't
think
hardly
so.
recognize anybody that was on it in that picture on television. So there's quite a few.
Oh, he didn't
new ones.
take his thing down.
Anybody on there?
no.
Have you guys ever gotten a call?
You know,
We used to get them all the time, but Pat Parker,
Parker.
she used to call us a lot. And she's in the rest home. I guess, is she still at the rest home?
no, I
No,
think
she's
she's at
at home.
home.
Oh, is she at
because,
home? Pat?
Because
Yeah, We deliver meals to her.
Oh,
Easter,
do
she
you?
had people
Okay, so
over
she's
their
doing
house.
better then?
I
Yeah,
guess.
she's at home.
Which I guess she don't want to talk to us anymore.
Pat, did we upset you? We're sorry.
Love you very much. Miss you. Yeah, she always called in. The last time she called in, remember, she said, "You girls do such a good job, I don't have any questions to ask."
There she is.
It
Okay.
is. Welcome to What's New.
Yes, guess who?
Hi, Pat. I
If I
thought,
don't call in, you talk about me and tell all my Stop doing that.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Well,
I'm just
good.
Great.
good.
As long as I'm on the line, let me say something to Bob.
Oh, no.
Oh, you can talk to Bob. Go ahead.
Okay. My stepdaughter took in in the Audubon last Friday for lunch, and she was very impressed. She liked it very much. She said thumbs up for the Audubon.
Well, thank you.
So I thought you'd enjoy hearing that.
I do, I appreciate it.
We just had to talk about you, Pat, because we miss you.
You sound like you're stronger and feeling better, are you?
Yeah, yes, I am. I was sick for a couple of weeks there. I was feeling really bad, but they fixed me up with some rehab, and I'm home now, so I'm doing great.
Well, that's
Wonderful.
great.
Good,
That's
good. We
great.
miss you.
You gonna come back out to the pool?
Probably not, no.
Probably not, okay. Yep, we miss you out there too, so,
Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
You take
Well,
care.
I'm gonna hang up.
Oh, okay.
Take
See
care,
you
Pat.
later, thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling, Pat.
All right,
Glad to hear
bye-bye.
from you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bless her heart.
Yeah.
She's so good.
She's a good lady.
Yeah.
She was our faithful supporter.
Yes, she is.
And in fact, she supported almost everything here in town.
Oh, yes.
All the time.
She's very good.
Went-
Did you ever
went to
find the
everything.
ad in the paper for what's new?
I
Is
just
that
brought,
today's
It
paper?
must be on
yeah,
the
I just
page.
brought part of it.
Here, let me look now.
I just brought the one section, I don't think it was in this section. The Audubon was in, the restaurant was in there.
Okay, so we are going to be on the 22nd. So if anybody out there wants to join Jean Grifford and the Parkinson Pals, give us a call. And otherwise, I guess we'll entertain you.
We have to wait for our boss to tell us we can sign off.
Yeah. Nah, we can just say it.
Our weatherman,
The weatherman, yeah, he got it right tonight, it's raining.
yeah.
Well, how could you miss it if you're walking and it's raining? Good Lord.
There, we're off.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night, see you next week.
Thank
Oh,
you,
did
guys.
you see that? They said to throw a watch party. That's fun.
Thanks a lot for coming, both of you.
Thank you.